Hey everyone, my next guest is Olivia Guzman, all the way over in Texas. Now, she is a 25-year-old Texan native. She graduated from the University of Texas at Austin, where she studied business and journalism. She currently is a reporter for Rice University Athletics on ESPN Plus. She is one of four daughters and a proud Colombian. Her platform, Be Bold at Blank, is used as a tool for empowerment to reach your dreams. Well, Olivia, welcome to the show. How are you?
Thank you. I'm good. This is so weird starting like we haven't been talking for the last 20 minutes, but yes, I'm excited to be here and be on your show.
We did get a bit sidetracked. I didn't realize that you in your bio you put Colombian, and we were talking about
Mhm.
soccer before we went live. So, how does it feel playing soccer, and who do you root for? You were telling me this story.
Yeah, so um the World Cup is coming to America next year for 2026, and a big bucket list dream of mine is to be able to work the World Cup. And one of my mentors and I were talking, and she asked me who I rooted for, and I told her that I never feel less patriotic as an American during the World Cup, that everything will be decked out in Colombia, that they are my team, they are my boys in yellow. And will I root for the USA? Absolutely, but heaven forbid the two play each other because that's going to be really awkward. But yeah, I just was saying how my Colombian blood comes out during the World Cup.
If that did happen at the World Cup, so
Hmm.
US versus Colombia, I don't know if you guys go to local sports bars or stuff to watch the game, but if
Hmm.
you did, considering that you're in Texas,
Yeah.
would you feel safe, like cheering on the Colombians when you're surrounded by Americans?
So there's a big Colombian population in Houston. And one of my soccer coaches growing up, his brother opened a bar called Fabian's in Houston. It's this big Colombian bar, sports bar. And Copa America was last summer, and Colombia lost in the finals to Argentina. But my dad, sisters, and I, we were there cheering him on. So I would probably go there when Colombia plays and just to a normal sports bar to watch the US play. But yeah, I think I would be fine. I think it's
What
not Americans don't care that much as much for it to not be safe.
what is the because you said they lost, the Colombians lost. What are the fans like after a soccer loss? Because I know soccer fans are kind of in a league of their own. I mean, soccer is the world's biggest game, at last I heard,
Yeah.
in terms of the number of people who play it, number of people who watch it.
Hmm.
But what are the fans like after a loss like that? Is it disappointment, or is it like heartbreak? Like, how would you describe it?
So this one was interesting because there were a lot of technical difficulties with Copa America. It was in Miami, and there was a lot of I don't know if crime's the right word, but chaos that happened right before the game. So the game itself was
Right.
delayed 2 hours before it even
Wow.
started. It was messy. So, Argentina's the favorite, and this was Messi's big hurrah, goodbye. He's won everything except for Copa America. We got some red cards. Like it was sad. No one was mad. At least I wasn't mad. It was just one of those like, okay, like we'll get them next time. And but I will say the vibe, at least, I love how this is, a pageant interview, but I'm going to talk sports with you, was that Argentina, they've been in the golden age of soccer in
Yeah.
Argentina, and it felt like the chapter was closing, and
Yeah.
Colombia's really young. And so it was like, okay,
Ah.
our future's ahead of us. This is their last hurrah.
Right.
Don't quote me on that next year because if it doesn't go the way we want it to, and Argentina's back, but that's what it was feeling like.
So it was it's like a changing of the guard then, so to speak. Like it's the old one that's sort of moving out, and then
Mhm.
the new guns and new blood trying to come in.
That is what I tell myself to not get sad about it.
Hey,
Yes.
you're the sports journalism. You're the sports journalist. So I'm going to take your word as gospel that you're the
Oh
expert here.
no. Oh no. I mean, listen, I pride myself on being very unbiased when talking about sports. I didn't realize I was coming at this from a journalist. I was coming at this from a Colombian. So if you wanted me to come at this from a journalist, then it's going to be a little bit of a different answer. But Yes.
I can understand, as you said, as I said before, half an hour when we were talking before. I was a tennis coach, and so I followed tennis obviously, and I was a huge like Roger Federer fan. And the
Mm,
guy was playing basically till he was 80 and on one leg, and
yeah.
eventually he stops being invincible, starts losing, and the new blood's coming in, and the new guys are hungry, and they just come in, and you're kind of a bit disappointed, but you're also excited to see the new guns coming in. But in terms of sports, and we will get to pageantry at some point, maybe. I don't know. As I said, these are
Yeah.
conversational. I don't have a
Yeah.
list of questions. But tell me about sports journalism. How. Actually, let's start with how much of what's the balance in terms of gender male to female? Just because going at a guess, I would say it's mainly male, but that's a guess. I don't know. Sports journalism, what's the balance?
I couldn't give you an exact number, but it feels like 90-10, like
Okay.
90% male, 10% female. It's a very male dominated industry, and I don't think that should be a surprise because most professional sports, the skew
Yeah.
of male to female is like that. And I love covering women's sports. I got to be Rice women's basketball. I got to cover their whole season. That was awesome, and I loved that. But most of what I do is male sports, and so
Yeah.
as an audience and just the demographic, there's we're trying to create more seats at the table for women, but it's a little bit of a harder battle to climb.
It'll take some time.
Yeah.
I actually know a good friend of mine over in Wales, so over UK way, and she is into the soccer and the rugby, I think, and
Hmm.
she's done some broadcasts for their big channels, and she
Yeah.
said the issue is that as a woman going into the field, if you want to be taken seriously, you need to be better than
Yes.
the equivalent male to be taken seriously. And I know that it maybe it's the way that it is at the moment, and it's a shame. But have you felt that like go and actually what? Why did you go into sports journalism? Because I find this fascinating. Because obviously it's a 90, as you said, roughly 90-10.
Yeah.
So it's not like you're going to be having a lot of other women around you. You'll have some if you're lucky, but
Hmm.
probably not. So there's one woman who will look at that and go, no way. And there's
Yeah.
another woman who will look at that and go, fine, bring it on. So obviously you're in the latter in that latter
In the
part.
bring it on category. Yeah.
Yeah, why sports journalism?
Well, I'll answer the question that you were about to ask, which was, do you feel that you need to know,
Yeah,
be better?
more,
And I would
be
say
better.
I feel like I need to know twice as much
Yeah,
to be taken half as seriously.
yeah,
Um, because it's a twofold in this industry that your appearance is a part of it,
mhm,
because you're on camera and in front of people, but then that tends to make you seem less than. They tend not to respect you as much. You have to almost come in as one of the guys. If you're in male sports, particularly, one of the guys, talk X's and O's with them, and just really shut any type of anything down immediately and be like, I'm here to
yeah,
be business.
yeah.
Let's shoot it, be buds, X's and O's. You almost have to be as knowledgeable as a coach,
Mm,
as a woman,
yeah.
um, which is intimidating, but I find it thrilling. So I am one of four sisters. I have three other sisters, and my dad's a big sports guy. He played college football. He grew up loving sports. We were Colombian. Um, and I just was the kid that gravitated towards it the most from an early age. The Houston Texans became a franchise the year I was born, or maybe the year after I was born, but early 2000s. Um, and my dad had just started his own company. We were talking about entrepreneurship before this started. He ventured out and started his own company, and so it's called Inco Pro. They got season tickets to be with clients and everything. And he had four tickets, and it would be him, two potential clients, and me. I would get to go to all the games with him, and that just quickly became our thing, was sports. And I love talking sports. I am uber competitive. I loved playing soccer. I loved doing every single sport under the sun. And the older I got, I also loved being on stage, performing, talking with people. I learned that a huge strength of mine is actually communication and presentation. And I was like, no, I want to be a part of that. I know I won't be able to play. So let's, if I want to be at a higher level, it's got to be talking and knowledge. And so there was a lot of pushback from people around me. They were supportive, but it's same thing as your little kid, which another dream of mine was to be on Broadway. And it's like, okay, like, great, go get them. But whenever I went to college, I was applying for colleges. I wanted to be a journalist, go into journalism, and my team was like, please don't pigeonhole yourself. Um, you're very bright. You can do a lot of other things. You have other passions, whatever. And so UT, the business school at Texas, is the Macomb School of Business, is internationally recognized. And I applied for it. I prayed every single night to not get in because I wanted to go into journalism. Not only did I get in, I got one of the 50 scholarships that the business school gives out. I was like, well, here we go. So my path is really doing both. It's like being business, using that critical thinking. And the more I got into in the business school, I was like, no, this will help me long
Yeah,
term
yeah.
with journalism. So now here we are doing both. I love in my bio, I conveniently left out that my full-time job is I'm a banker. So that is what I do. That's what I do from 9 to 5. And then after that, I go and pursue the sports dream because that ultimately is the dream is sports. But we're just can't put me in a box.
I have so many questions. I don't know
Just shoot.
where to begin with that. I don't think anyone's going to have sympathy for you applying for an internationally renowned business school, you praying every night not to get in, and then you got the scholarship. It's eerily
Yeah.
reminiscent of when I was at the same junction in my life. I come from a family of doctors, but I didn't want to be a doctor,
Wow. Yep.
and so I had to put like medicine on my list at some point just to say
Hmm.
yes, yes, I'm applying. But we
Yeah.
get to I don't know if you guys have like the preference, like which one do I want? What's
Hmm.
my first choice? What's
Yeah.
my second choice? And I put my first choice, which was engineering, up the top. Now, engineering, to give you an idea, had an entrance mark of 65 or 70. So if you got like 70, 80, 90, you were guaranteed to get in. And I put medicine second, which has an entrance mark of like 99.
Yeah.
So
Hmm.
yeah, so, and I ended up getting 99, but obviously I got into the engineering
Yeah.
rather than the medicine. So it's funny, like sometimes we feel like we need to do things to please someone and we feel that it's not really our path. But it seems to have worked out well for you. Because I agree, like, I mean,
Hmm.
talk to me a bit about the business helping journalism because I think a
Yeah.
lot of the times when you don't, when you're beginning out, it's like, oh no, I just want to be a sports journalist. I don't want to do business. But then as you get into it, you actually realize the business skills, it's kind of like pageantry in a way. The skills transfer over a lot. The ability to present
Hmm.
yourself as someone who has value, someone who has professional skills, someone who deserves her seat at the table, frankly. A lot of that is not just in the journalism, because I've seen a lot of journalists here in Australia they're useless because I mean they haven't learned any of the other skills, especially the tennis.
Yeah.
The tennis ones in Australia got in a lot of trouble this year because they
Oh
asked some very
no.
poor questions.
Yeah.
But talk to me about the crossover between business and journalism and how it's come in handy for you.
Well, I am very faithful, and that was God's plan for me. That business school, I owe everything I am to McCombs. Truly. They have a motto that this will be the hardest thing you ever do. And they want to essentially break you and push you so that when you leave there, nothing phases you. I grew so much. School growing up was not hard for me. I graduated number one in my high school class. I loved school, loved it. And school was hard. College was hard for me. That was the
Yeah,
first time I was pushed and challenged. Um, so there's those skills of learning how, and I worked really, really hard in high school. I don't want that to sound like I didn't work hard, but I didn't, I worked hard to ace it, but the baseline, I just always got it.
yeah,
College, it was like, holy cow, like a whole different experience in just the business school. I was around some of the most intelligent people I've ever met in my entire life. Some of them are still my really good friends who are on Wall Street running it. They're
Okay.
just highly, highly, highly intelligent people. So just being around those types of people and having to be rise to the occasion. There are some classes and professors that I had. My major was marketing in the business school.
Yeah.
That has changed everything for me, and just the way
Mm.
that I look at the world, look at commercials, market myself. I look at where is the leakage coming in. I mean, all these different marketing terms that just kind of churn
Yeah.
here, and I look at that's made a huge difference. I think it's given me a world of opportunity that I can always fall back on, that I have a really solid educational foundation that will help me get a job, but will
Yeah.
also help me just be better at whatever job I'm in. I joke that I'm a one man band, that when I was a reporter at a local station, I did everything. I shot, edit, wrote, produced my story from beginning to on camera. I was
Yeah.
the only one that touched it.
Wow.
And so that's kind of how I see myself, just as an employee, as a person with, is just a one man band. Like, I can do it all.
Yeah.
Macomb's business has helped me, that it's made me not just a one trick pony with
Yeah.
journalism, that I can do all of it. And within journalism, when I was at a local TV station, you could throw me any story and talk with anyone, and I could get it, because I I hated it while I was in it. I mean, I told you I prayed every night that I wouldn't get it, and it ended up being one of the greatest things. And when I graduated, I was like, "Thank you so much. Y'all were so amazing. I'm so sorry I was so ungrateful for letting me into this school." And I know no one has sympathy for me. I felt so bad. My college roommate, my freshman year roommate, was denied from the business school, and so I was like, it just was like instantaneous. Like, I get to UT, and it's like, you will be grateful for this. You will be grateful for this. And I am very grateful now. So, and I will wear it like a badge of honor that I got to graduate from the Macomb School of Business.
You're grateful now, but
Yes.
maybe not so much at the time.
Listen,
What?
18-year-old Olivia, like, God bless her. She
Oh,
grew up a
look,
lot.
I, I don't think for
A lot.
any of us our 18-year-old selves will be maybe the best highlights of our lives that we're proud to show everyone. I think everyone at 18 is
I hope
maybe
not.
making some questionable choices. Otherwise,
Yeah.
you're doing it wrong. You're playing it too safe.
If
But you said
18 is what you're most proud of, we got some work to do. I'll say
yes,
that.
yes. Yes, we do. You mentioned that it's eerily reminiscent of, what they say in the Navy SEALs and the military when they bring you in, and the goal really is just to see not necessarily who's physically the strongest, but just who has the most staying power, the sticking power.
Yeah.
And the whole thing is it's a triage. It's like this battle of attrition, like who's going to drop out.
Mhm.
And the people who drop out sometimes are the physically strongest, but they just don't have the heart. They don't want to keep pushing through. You mentioned that the business school for you was similar, like very difficult. You found it very
Yeah.
hard. I'm just curious, in which ways did you find it hard, or did it push you?
Um, there's a level of excellence that's demanded at
Right.
the University of Texas. Our motto is, what starts here changes the world. And
Oh,
they
wow.
want you to be world leaders. You are the best of the best, second to none. You are the intellectual elite, is kind of, and nothing shorter than excellence is acceptable, to be quite frank.
Hmm.
And I think the classes were hard. And so I had a level of excellence of myself, of what type of grades I expected, and the level of effort and intelligence, quite frankly, and everything. Like, the bar just had to be raised so much higher, and I had to work harder than I ever had before. And there were times when, I had to be okay with not getting the grades that I wanted, because that was my best. And
Yeah.
the kids that got the top grades are running things on Wall Street. So, like, it
Yeah.
just was a whole different caliber of standards and people that I had never seen before.
Right.
My sisters will tell you that's not unique to the business school. My older sister was in the College of Natural Sciences. She studied family health. My younger sister One of them is currently there. She double majors in neuroscience and environmental engineering.
Yeah.
She's a whole different level of
Yeah. Yeah.
crazy. But that's not unique to the business school. It's just what field it gets focused into. And all my professors were not just these random people who wanted to be a teacher. I mean, my favorite professor, he taught my digital marketing class. He remember when Chipotle got E. coli, and it just
Yeah.
kind of like, and then all of a sudden Chipotle came back, and then like everything was different about the branding. He was that guy that did that.
Wow.
He's the one that got Wendy's on Twitter. He like did he like that's
Wow.
him. And
That, that's
and
made a lot of money.
yes, but all of my professors were at that level of just guys that were retired in Austin, and women that were retired in Austin that had changed their industry for the better and now just teach on the side. I mean, I mean, it's amazing. And and thank God every day that I got the chance just to listen to these people. Truly.
It's I mean, so basically what you're saying is that your professors are people who've actually lived it, which
Yeah.
to me is a huge thing because I had a brief stint at a university because they had a course about entrepreneurship. And I thought,
Hmm.
okay, we'll give it a go, learn more about entrepreneurship. I lasted one class because I
No.
went into the class and put it simply, the people who were teaching it obviously hadn't done it. That they'd read about entrepreneurship
Okay.
in a book, and
Yeah.
one of the prerequisites to join it was that you had to be there 9 to 5 every day. And I'm like, hang on, if you are really serious about teaching like postgraduate entrepreneurship and you're teaching people who have entrepreneurial blood, you know they're going to be all over the place trying to do all these things. So it doesn't like you expect people to attend in person 9 to 5 Monday to Friday. Clearly, they don't have a business outside
No.
anyway. But I'm very jealous of what you said because someone who's made
Hmm.
those moves, like Wendy's jumping on Twitter, or someone
Hmm.
working with Chipotle, obviously you don't get hired by those companies just because you talk a good game. You have to have the results to back it up. But
Yeah.
can I ask you, sort of backing up?
Mhm.
Obviously, you were very bright. You were.
Oh,
I think
thank
you
you.
are. You are still very bright. I don't want putting it.
I mean,
You
yes.
were, and
Let's.
now who knows?
You were smart. No.
But now, yeah, well, 18 maybe was the highlight years. Can I just ask, because it sounds like you aced school, you worked hard,
Hmm.
and then you wanted to get into something that may, and I think you mentioned this, correct me if I'm wrong, people are like, you're very bright, you can do anything. See,
Yeah.
I had the same thing when I went into the tennis coaching. It's like, oh, but you're so bright, you could do anything, you could be this, you could be that, why tennis coaching? And for me, it was a bit of I struggled a little bit. And I don't know if you had
Hmm.
the same, like, oh, you're really bright, you're really intelligent, you should, be a rocket scientist, you should run for president. But it's like this thing that you really, really want to do. In your case, it's
Hmm.
sports journalism. In my case, I wanted to be a tennis coach. And you can't really explain to people why, because it's like,
Yeah.
yes, I know I'm intelligent, but I really want to do this. Did you ever struggle with that?
Still to this day, it is. And I just go back to the fact that that is my dream and it's in my bones. And I feel, and I know I'm good at it. And I feel in my bones that I could be one of the greats. And I don't want an average life is what
Mm,
I've always said is and some people do, and I respect it so much that you want the normal American fabulous steady life. I want to chase the
yeah.
stars,
Yep.
reach for them, dream them. That's just I've always been that way. I've always been wired that way. I mean, my dreams as a kid were Broadway, to be a pop star, and to call the Super Bowl. Those were my big dreams. And whenever I crash and burn to where it just keeps telling me no, then yeah, we'll fall back on it. But I just feel that this is my calling, and
Yeah. Yeah.
I know it's hard work, and I know it's a grind, and I think everything I've done in life has prepared me to be able to stick it out and grind it out. And we will see where it goes, but I'm I know that it's not ideal. It's not the ideal, but just like anything in life, to be great, is not easy. There's no
Yeah.
easy path to greatness. And
Yeah.
I don't want to be good. I don't want to be average. I want to be the best. I want to be great. And so if that involves struggle, I just tell people, well, this is the early chapters of my book. Well, we'll get to the good
Yeah.
stuff at the end. This is the early chapters, and that's just what I believe in my bones. And it's I have to constantly, the hard days and the days where I'm like, holy moly, I just have to remind myself, like, you have big dreams and big goals, and come hell or high water, you're going to achieve them. So that's where we're at.
Yeah, it's that I have a lot of respect for someone who has standards like that. I mean, I find very often it's very difficult sometimes to speak to other people just in a social setting about that because very often people don't understand it, and
Mm-mm.
whether they love you or not is irrelevant. It's like it comes with a bit of judgment because they've never maybe
Yeah.
dreamed that big, and you respect where they're going.
Hmm.
And it sometimes feels like it's not coming back at you. But I mean, working in the sports journalism field, I mean, obviously you're focused on elite athletes, and I think the
Hmm.
greats in any sport, you could almost define them. I've read biographies of many sports people. You can almost define the greats by how many sacrifices they made and how many doubts they
Yeah.
had to overcome. No, there's no great athlete out there who's had it easy at the beginning, had it easy in the
Hmm.
middle, had it easy at the end, and everything went their way. So, I mean,
Yeah.
have you ever, I don't know, in terms of inspiration, when you are going through those hard times, and I'm sure journalism is hyper competitive, and then obviously, as you said, it's a male dominated
Yeah.
field. Have you ever who do you draw inspiration from?
I have a mentor of mine. Her name's Laura Oakman. She is one of the sideline reporters for Fox Sports. And she's someone that I draw so much inspiration from. She's one of the first women to do it. She's still doing it. She's in her 50s and killing it. And I think I've listened to her story so many times of all the times where people have given her every excuse as to why she can't, and she's come
Yeah,
back and said, "This is why I can." I've had the pleasure and privilege of being able to interview NFL rookies and help them figure out their story with Laura, and it's an organization called Galvanize. I've had the pleasure of twice, one with the Chargers, once with the 49ers. We get to go in, we get paired with a rookie, and we sit down and help them figure out their story so that whenever the big media people ask them, what have you gone through in life, what have you
yeah,
struggled with, we help them format it. And so a big part of it is, I know what you do, I want to figure out your who. And
mm,
so I've had the chance to sit and gut these, you know guys who are my peers, same age. I mean, my
yeah,
first time I was 22, and his name's Brandon. He was also 22, and I was like, I'm gonna gut you open. And his story was one that I got so much inspiration from, and all the things he's overcome. The guy I did with the 49ers, Isaac, he same thing. I just am constantly inspired by them. When I was at the University of Texas, I got to work a lot with all of our athletics, which is again high level athletes. And Sam Ellinger was our quarterback at the time, and I don't expect that to mean anything to you, but he has his own story of just losing his father, and then his brother died the week after he was drafted to the NFL, who was a friend of mine. Just his story, and then I mean, there are just so many guys. There's another guy's name's Brock Cunningham. He was a basketball player who was a walk on and ended up being what was labeled the glue guy by the end of his senior year at Texas because he just worked hard, worked hard, worked hard. I'm a sucker for an underdog story. I think I've always seen myself as an underdog. And so those are the stories that I'm drawn toward, the rags to riches, the no one's spoon feeding you. You got to
yeah,
claw your way up. And so I think I'm drawn to it because that's a story I want to create and I see myself creating. But I mean, I think working in sports journalism helps me keep the dream alive because I've had the
yeah,
privilege of speaking with, interviewing, and working with people who are on the brink of that, of
yeah,
everything paying off. And
yeah, yeah,
so it's just a constant inspiration of like,
yeah.
I'm watching this and I'm a teensy little part of all of
Mm,
your hard work about to pay off. And so, or paying off. And so I think that's what keeps me going is just constantly drawing information from people. And I would expect every name I just gave to you, they're not the ones you hear worldwide globally. Like they are not the biggest, they're not the Tom Brady's and the
Sure.
Messis and the Cristiano
Yeah.
Ronaldo's. They're the guys who are doing well, excelling at a high level, but are just starting. And those are the ones
Yeah.
that inspire me the most.
It's interesting because what the picture that you just painted about interviewing and finding people, finding out their stories, and maybe they've just gone through a hard loss or they're just on the brink of breaking through, and then you find out all this stuff, because
Yeah.
you watch an athlete, you see the athletic prowess and you're amazed, and then you don't realize that these are actually people who have their
Mm-hmm.
own stories behind them. But it's just eerily reminiscent again of sort of why I do this because interviewing pageant girls for me it's not about trying to work out who's going to get the crown. That's really of zero interest to me, frankly, which
You
might
sit
sound a
down, you're
bit
like, I've
odd.
interviewed these ones, and this is what I would score them.
Yeah, no, people are like, oh, you should come and judge, and I'm like, no, I don't, not really interested in that. But for me it's
Mhm.
about the stories, because again
Yeah,
with pageant girls, again it's what you see on stage is a pretty crown and the smile and all this, and then you don't realize the story that's led this
behind it.
woman to this
Yeah.
point. Because when you said journalism, it didn't click in my head that you had done so much, by the sounds of it, interviewing. Because journalism to me was more the writing, and I've seen obviously the tapes with you presenting that one. As I said, I saw of you on the field freezing to death. It looked absolutely miserable. Like I'm never going to do that for a pageant interview ever. No, thank you. I don't think any pageant girl would want to do that either. But talk to
No
me
sports
about in
reporter wants to do it either.
no. Someone's got to do it. It's like someone's got to take out the trash. But in
Yeah.
terms of interview, did you always think that you'd like interviewing to get stories, or was it something that's more like your business school where you prayed to God, no, don't let me get in, and then you got in, and but actually it's not so bad?
So that's my favorite part of being a reporter is interviewing. And what I want to do, my dream is to be, well, I I say my dream, I am, but at the higher level, national broadcasting level is sideline reporting, which all you do is interview. That's
Mm,
is just, and that's my favorite part is the people and the
yeah,
stories. And yes, I'd love to talk X's and O's with you, break down strategy, game plans, but I want to know how is your team feeling? What was the message you gave them? Who are the guys that have showed up? Who are the unsung heroes? Who are the
yeah,
guys that are girls that are battling things you would never know? And just highlighting those moments, the humanizing parts of it, because I think that makes it
mm,
so much more amazing when you see someone excelling at a high level and
yeah,
hearing about everything else that's happening that you don't see. You just see the performance aspect of it. And I think that's something in my life that I've had so many different trials that I've overcome, and understanding that like whenever you get seen and heard about like you're doing all these things, but I understand you, I see you, I validate that you're going through all of that. 90% of all of my interviews are on the cutting room floor.
yeah,
They just
yeah,
are. They
yeah,
are mostly conversational based. I joke, and something that I'm working on with this pageant interview is that we got to concise, make everything shorter because I love just talking and connecting with people and getting things out of them. I'm sure you're like, oh, I've seen that. We talked for 30 minutes before this whole thing even started. But that's my favorite part is pulling back all the layers, and I love doing it with football players because they're so tough and they're so hard and they're so
yeah,
excellent and focused and get it in like helping them pull back and understand. Brandon, the first guy that I got to
mm,
interview, I mean, he's one of my good friends to this day. We talk all the time just because of that interview and
yeah,
things that I helped him. It was almost like therapy for him that he didn't even realize. But that was just there're just so many little stories that are meaningful that I mean his story, the things that we brought out are not mine to share, but
yeah,
they are
yeah,
things
yeah,
that I cherish and connections I formed with him and other players that just make I just think the world of them because I've seen the junk, yet it
yeah.
hasn't stopped them, which is just fascinating and inspiring.
I was going to suggest maybe you should add sports psychologist to your resume somewhere because it's also not easy. Maybe it is for you, but it sounds like you're very naturally gifted at interview, which is something that can't. I don't think it can be trained. I think a lot can be trained. You can always get
Mhm.
better, but I think interview because it's fascinating because I feel the same way in terms of what I'm doing with yourself now. And it's a conversation. There's no list of questions, but there's a certain empathy and a listening skill that's required to really
Mhm.
draw people out, especially if you're helping them craft a story. Story very often starts with, hey, what didn't work so well earlier on in my life? Because that leads you to, hey, here I am now. But,
Yeah.
there's crap back there that I had to deal with. I'm just curious because obviously I'm interviewing you now, but you've interviewed a lot of people. I
Mhm.
mean, what's some of the stuff you've learned about interviewing well in terms of like drawing people's stories out and having a list of questions or not having a list of questions or being able to listen. What are some of the things you've learned about how to interview someone? Not getting interviewed yourself, but how do I actually know what questions to ask?
Well, I'm much better at interviewing than being interviewed. I'll just start there. I just
No,
am.
I don't want to. I don't want to agree with you.
No, stop. But I think I've become a much better listener. I I prepare for every single interview that I've ever
Yeah,
done. Over prepared for them. I mean, there've been plenty of times where I've been on the spot thrown in and you just got to do what you got to do and you
yeah,
had no time to prepare. But the
yeah,
ones where I've been given time to prepare, news, sports, you name it, whatever level, the first question tends to be the only one that I ask. And after
yeah.
that, then it just becomes a conversation. And my favorite question is why? Why? Or like break
Mm,
that down further, uncover more. My story from what I anticipated it being always changes to the end. But I think you just have to be genuinely curious.
yeah,
You have to
yep,
be curious and you have to care. And every person I've interviewed has stuck with me and I cared with them because I feel like I've been, I pride myself on getting people to open up to me and I don't take that lightly where I just got you to
mm,
pour your soul out and then it's like, okay, bye. Like I then treat your story with the same amount of respect that I would
yeah,
hope someone would treat mine. But I think you just have to get them to trust you. And I think you can't fake
yeah,
that. It's it has to come from an authentic place of caring. And there are some people you click with more than others. And
yeah,
there are some but you genuinely have to care and understand that it's not about you. Like that's something that was humbling, I guess, when I first started in college that like it's not about me. It really isn't. And like, yes, I have dreams. Like, I love being on camera and I love being in front of people and I love performing. But ultimately, I'm telling someone else's story and it's about them. And so
mm,
once you flip that and it's no longer about you, I think you can be much better at it. But it genuinely comes from you have to care and you have to be curious. And
yeah.
if you're those two things and you can develop a sense of trust, you're golden. Truly.
I think that's well said. You mentioned how you help these players, these athletes, sort of uncover their why, their
Hmm.
story. So, given that I'm supposed to do some pageant interview, and we probably should talk about pageants, can
Yeah.
look at this segue. I'm so smooth. Can we flip
Yeah,
the script on you a little
let's talk
bit?
about pageant. Yeah.
Because we do,
Gosh.
we always talk about pageant why. Like you got to know why you're getting into pageants in order to enjoy the journey.
Mhm.
So with entering pageants, because obviously you've got enough on your plate as it is, you've got big dreams. And I do need to ask about baking because that was something you didn't write on the bio, and it's stuck in my head that she does baking. Um, but why did you get into pageants? Do you have a similar? I mean, because the other thing is like after interviewing so many people, you uncover their why. I think
Yeah.
what happens very often is you start thinking about your own why because you just start drawing
Mhm.
parallels. Oh, you went through that. I went through this. Interesting.
Mhm.
Um, why pageants? How did you get into them?
So I have a very unique pageant journey. So I mean, I'm Colombian. We love pageants. We just do. And I'm from
Noticed.
Texas. Like it
Yeah.
just I grew up
Perfect
being
combination.
perfect combination for loving pageants. So I grew up watching pageants, loving pageants. I was in my school pageant in high school. That was my first real only pageant experience, other than watching it and being an encyclopedia on Miss USA, Miss America, Miss Universe. So I got to college, and my very first friend that I met, her name is Stephanie Went. She is my very best friend to this day. She had just given up her title as Miss Texas's Outstanding Teen. So, which is the teen in the Miss America system. I was the first person I met that actually did pageants. And I was, it was something I was a fan of, but never saw myself actually doing. We graduate from college. We graduate from college. Fast forward, Miss America Volunteer is brand new. Miss Volunteer America is brand new.
Yeah.
And it was in its second year, and this is hilarious. My college boyfriend and I had just broken up. This is October of 2022. Miss Texas Volunteer is November of 2022. And I thought I was marrying this guy. If only she knew. And Stephanie comes into our room because we were living together, and she said, I signed you up for a pageant. I said, and she was like, you love singing. She had been competing for Miss Texas in the America system the year before. I'd watched her do that. Like, I very much was in it with her,
Yeah.
helping her train our whole senior year of college. Like, I knew
Wow. Okay.
the stuff.
Yeah.
She was like, I signed you up for this. Congratulations. We have 5 weeks. And she's like, you need to get in the gym. You need to start singing. You haven't sang in a very long time, and that's your favorite thing in the whole entire world. We need to get you in an interview. We need to get you in Marlin. We need to get you dressed. Like, we're going to do this whole thing, and it's like, we're going to heal you and like forget him. Woo! And I fell in love with it. Just the whole journey of it. And I, showed up Miss Texas Volunteer Weekend, no expectations. There, just I was like, I'm here. I am healing myself. Like, woo! And then I was first runner up, and I was like, oh no. I was like, now I want to win. I was like, that's crazy. And so the next year, I was a slave to my job, to where there was no time. But this past year, the chips just kind of fell where they may. This was something that I wanted to do for me, of achieving just childhood dreams of performing, being on stage, always having that. There's a book, a second grade project that I found the other day. It said, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I said, Miss America. That, like,
Oh,
it was
wow.
like by 20 years old, I wanted to be Miss America.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's crazy, because I didn't take any steps towards that until I was 22. But it's just, again, honoring dreams and achieving it. And I've seen the way that pageantry helped her. I've seen the way it's changed so many people. I've seen the different woman I've become in preparing for it. Even in those short 5 weeks, just I don't even know how to explain it. It's just a different type of poise that you carry
Mm.
about yourself. It's thinking about things bigger than yourself. I love singing. So the talent aspect of it, getting back in touch with that side of myself. I'm not going to lie, the interview part of it should be the easiest part for me. It's actually the hardest part for me, because it's not what I'm used to. And then there's just so many aspects of it. And I hate when people say, like, oh, pageant girls are just like pretty girls that wear dresses and blah, blah, blah. Because I'm like, well, what's wrong with that? First of all, what's wrong with feeling beautiful and being on a stage and having a moment to shine? What's wrong with that? Is there so much more to it? Absolutely. But I hate that gets minimized, because as someone who works in a male dominated field, getting to feel beautiful and authentic in
Yeah.
your most womanly self is not something that's celebrated. It's actually the opposite. It's like, no, be a man, be a man, be a man.
Yeah.
And so I think being a part of this world, well, I consider myself like not necessarily a newbie to it, but not a vet at it. I consider myself a vet in other areas of my life. But this one, I think it's just the pinnacle of girlhood, truly, and being a part of things, all the most womanly things you can think of, from yes, the glitz and glamour and being on stage and the spotlight and crowns and pretty dresses, but also to just the nurturing side of womanhood and service and humility and caring. I think it just is a culmination of, at least for me, what it means to be a woman. And that's really what why I fell in love with it, and then why I pursued it outside of healing a heartbreak, to be honest. And was like, no, we're gonna make this, see where this goes and make something. And the more I've been a part of it, the more I've just, again, I don't settle for anything less than excellence. That's just me. I'm sure you've gathered that by now. And so now I'm like, there's a pinnacle of excellence in this. Let's strive for that. So that's my pageant journey. It's not the little girl whose mom put her in pageants at 3 years old. It was joining at 22 years old because you broke up with the boy you thought you were going to marry, and then you fell in love with it. So here we
I think there's a song in that. I'm sure there's like a
are.
country music song. Broke up with my boyfriend, won a pageant. I'm just, I've heard
Yeah,
many stories. I don't think I've quite ever heard that one before.
I know.
I mean, you
And I
you
hate
mentioned
that he's a part of it. I'm like, ugh, why do you have to be a part of this all these years later? But I mean, that was the start of it. So I
what do
guess and thank him for that.
you with the interview. You said you struggle a bit. Is it because you? Is it because of the short? Is it the time restriction? Because I've often thought that if I was in a pageant interview, the problem is not me speaking. The problem is getting me to stop speaking, like trying to give sound bites. Is that the struggle for
Mhm.
yourself?
It can be. That's definitely something I've had to work on, is short,
Right.
concise. I always want, I love long interviews. I just do, and digging into certain topics. And so
Yeah.
when in a pageant interview, it's like, how much information can you get across in 10 minutes? I'm like, no, I want to know how much can we go in on one topic in 10 minutes. And so it's just a different mindset. Also, as a reporter, you want to give whoever you're interviewing as much big chunk of meat so then they can pick where they want to go with the interview. So there's a big
Yeah.
lead up to it. And so that's just kind of my training, is more is more is more. And having being less is more, and being, no wasted words, and is, maybe that's why. And also, as much as I love speaking and being on interview, I love being the one in control of the interview. And so there's that aspect of it of like, oh, I'm at their mercy. So
Have you ever
yeah,
thought what you would do if you were a pageant judge on that panel asking the interview questions? What sort of questions you would ask?
yeah, I would. I think I would be the judge that goes for the heart stuff. Like, I don't want to try and throw you off, but I want to know. And I think that's just everything I do. And my mentor, Laura, she preaches the saying, like, I don't care about your do, I want your who. Who are you? Who are you? Who are you? And I think with the pageant girl in your resume, that is all you're due. And
Yeah.
I don't care. I want to know who you are. And so I think that's where I would go as a pageant judge, would be into the heart of it. And if you peel it back and we're sitting in PJs eating ice cream on a couch watching a movie, what would come out then, in that type of setting. That's the person I want to know. So
That sounds like a good juicy direction to take it. You get a lot of the real person, not the
mhm.
not just the resume. Tell us more about your platform, because now I'm interested, because obviously you are someone who's got a very multifaceted background. So
Mhm.
I'm going to assume that when it came time to come up with your platform, it wasn't just, or maybe it was an off the cuff decision, because obviously you had some things happen to you that are very just impromptu, like entering a pageant with on 5 weeks' notice and coming first runner up. But with your business and marketing background, I got to assume that some thought went into it. So tell people about your platform. What's it called? What is it? And maybe how people can get involved if you want them involved as well.
So it's called Be Bold at Blank, and you were laughing. You're like, "Is that a typo? Like, an insert something here?" That's exactly what it's intended to be. It's basically, it's bold because I think I'm bold. I live boldly. Bold is just doing something with confidence, charisma. And so it's a recipe to help you achieve your wildest goals. I don't want to get you from A to B. I want to get you from A to Z. And so, how
Mm.
do we get there? You fill in the blank. What do you need to change, be bold at? Because you can't change anything or achieve anything timidly. It's got to be with gusto, it's got to be bold. And so, for example, let's say my goal is to be Miss Volunteer America. That is my be bold at blank. Okay, well, what are the skills needed, the actionable items? Break it down, break it down, break it down, break it down, break it down into the
Mm.
1% things you do better. And by the law of compounding, 1% better every day towards that goal is compound
Yeah.
and you eventually get there. And so my be bold at blank for this year has been be bold in my health. And a little over a year ago, I went through a pretty traumatic event and had to move back home. My physical health, mental health, spiritual health, emotional health was just kind of all out of whack. And that was something that was very important to me to get back. And so, what were the 1% things that I would do every single day to be better? Did I see sunlight today? Did I eat something healthy today? Did I move my body today? And just setting a schedule, setting a plan, and just did I do that actionable item today? And now I'm going to compete in a swimsuit preliminary competition. That's where that culminated and led me to. And so it's really about helping people understand where do you want to go and how do you even think about beginning. And I've been privileged to be around a lot of incredibly intelligent people and high achieving people and successful people, sports, athletics, business, you name it, to where it's the little things they do every single day that have gotten them there. It's nothing big that just happens overnight. It's the
Yeah.
mundane, boring things that have just added up. And so that's really what Be Bold is. And you fill in the blank. Where do you want that to go? And then you break it down and break it down and break it down and break it down. And then eventually you got a roadmap to get there.
So, in essence, if I'm understanding correctly, it's about taking something that's a big goal or a big dream, and breaking it into tangibles such as seeing sunlight, or
Mm-hmm.
going for a walk, or even like putting on your gym shoes or something like that. Is that what
Yeah.
it is? So, taking the big
Mm-hmm.
one that can seem overwhelming and you think about it too much and you never do anything, and saying, "Hey, let's just start with this, this, and this."
Yeah. Like, I want to be fluent in Spanish. Great. Let's break it down, break it down, break it down, break it down, break it down into what can you do right now to help you be fluent in Spanish. And then we go from there and we keep building on. That's what it is.
Perfect. We have the actual pageant in a month's time, or a bit
Mm-hmm.
less, I think, now. If you are fortunate enough to have that crown placed on your head, what are you planning to do with it for your year of reign?
I have so many big goals, dreams, ideas of where the title of Miss Volunteer America could take me. I am very passionate about service. I'm raised in a Christian household. That's something that's very near and dear to my heart. And my mom instilled in us, like, I don't care really anything about you except that you have a servant's heart. And so
Mm.
being able to serve with St. Jude's and Salvation Army across the country, that's a big goal of mine to continue to build and bring in as much money as possible. I personally want to have, I think, $100,000 with St. Jude's was my goal as Miss Volunteer America. I have a 17-page plan proposal. So in my head, I'm like trying to break down what's a part of it.
Why am
Um,
I not surprised?
yes, there's a section of it with this. The board of this organization has access to lots of high celebrity events in the country music organization world. And I think a way to bring exposure to this organization, to this industry, to this pageant, because I think ultimately that is what my goal is brand awareness, because we need more
Yeah,
people being a part of it, is I'm a reporter. I don't want you to put me on red carpets. I want to be the one with the microphone behind the rope interviewing people on red
yeah,
carpets. And I think having that type of, just in any type of event, whether it's sports, entertainment, charity galas, you name it, those are the types of things I want to do, is be boots on the ground as a reporter with the crown
yeah,
and sash on,
yeah.
interviewing. other people, not the one being interviewed, interviewing other people, creating those things, and that's ultimately going to bring more people in because they're going to be like, why am I being
Yeah.
interviewed by someone wearing a crown? And just seeing that, I want by the end of my reign to have a pageant in all 50 states. That's something. I've got lots of big goals and ideas, but ultimately, I want to take this. I'm a storyteller, I'm a beast, and I'm a trailblazer. And those are the ways that I want to impact it and just kind of, you know, shake it on up in this organization and be a beast and blaze a trail and help get as many more girls into it as possible. And I think something that I can bring is I'm not a lifelong pageant girl, and there's an untapped market of girls who
Yeah.
want to be a part of
Yeah.
pageants and feel beautiful, but just haven't done it their whole life, so they don't see a way in, and they don't see the barrier. They see a barrier to entry, and so that's
Mm.
something again that I want to do. And lifelong pageant girls, they're there. We just got to bring them on in. It's inspiring the ones who have thought, I think I could do that.
Yeah.
Those are the ones that I want to bring in. And there's so many. There are so many out there that just don't feel seen, like that this is something they could do and do well.
You have a unique set of skills to do that, because I absolutely agree with you that there's a giant untapped market. And crossing over to business and marketing, if pageantry is to continue growing, it needs to tap that untapped
Yeah.
market. You can't just rely on pageant vets.
Nope.
But the story, see, that's where the crossover is. That you need to tell a story that people get curious about and they want to join. I think for a lot of young women, they don't join, A, because maybe they don't know where to start, but B, it's like, well, why? And why is answered by the story. It's like, well, I didn't know why I entered, and here's what I got out of it. And then you tell that story and people get really excited. It's like, oh, maybe I could do that too. And then they will join. But if
Yeah.
it's just, here's, you do this, here's the different sections, it's like, okay, but why? I think the why a lot of the time is missing. And I think a
Yeah.
lot of the time that's why pageants are struggling. That's why I was drawn to the Miss Volunteer America system, was it has volunteer in it. And I really
Me
think
too.
pageantry should be about that, but it still has the glam. Because from a marketing perspective, if it's just service without the glam, you're not going to tap that
You're a
untapped
Girl
market.
Scout. Then we're Girl Scouts. And I love Girl Scouts. I was a Girl Scout on my honor. But yeah, there's the glitz and glamour part of it with the service aspect, which really drew me to it. I know I said my best friend interned me in it, but it was something we had talked about before. It was not a total surprise. Like this was something
Yeah.
her and I talked about before of the volunteer organization. And I just was like, oh my God, that's so awesome. And she's the one that pulled the plug. But I always say, like, what is the modern day pageant girl look like? Where does she fit into society? Because that's something that I think is a huge question mark. It's like, where do pageants even fit?
Yeah.
And I think this organization has the chance to answer that question because
Mm.
we are new. And I think it's the pinnacle of what it means, girlhood, it means to be a woman is you're beautiful, you're smart, you're intelligent, you are warm, you are nurturing, you are service oriented. Yes, you are beautiful to look at and can walk very well, but you also have a heart for putting other people in front of you.
Yeah.
And I think it celebrates every aspect of what it means to be a woman. And I think we live in a world right now where to achieve in industries, and at least for me, being in business and in sports, you have to squash that part of you to succeed.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think pageants are a place where that is celebrated and rewarded. And I think that needs to be at the forefront of it, of showing the celebration of women. And yes, it's a competition, but everything's a competition. Like,
Mm.
give me something that's not a competition, like truly. But it's what it means to be a woman at your best version and celebrated. And you don't have to strip that part of you that wants to be glamorous and beautiful to succeed. And
Mm.
that's what drew me towards it. And I hope that um, I can inspire other girls that want to maybe be a part of it and don't have a best friend that will enter it for them, that they'll go ahead and do it for themselves. Because it's been, like McCombs, an opportunity that I am very thankful and grateful for, that I get to be a part of.
Did you ever get your revenge on your friend who entered you in the pageant? Have you ever thought, well, you entered me in this pageant, I'm going to enter you in something? I mean, has that ever crossed your
No,
mind?
I don't see it as revenge. I mean, it I was never mad at her. I mean, I was like, "Oh, that's so exciting." I think she just was the one that was pulled the plug and was like, you know, we've been talking about this. We talked about it
Yeah.
way before because we were like, how cool it is if she was Miss Texas and I was Miss Texas volunteer at the same time.
Oh, yeah.
Um, that was something we'd always talked about, which we have the potential to do that right now. She's actually Miss Dallas right now. She competes for Miss Texas the week after Miss Volunteer America. So if everything goes the way we want it to, then I will be Miss Volunteer America, and then she'll be Miss Texas, and then we'll be Miss Volunteer America and Miss America together. That would be our dream angle. So, no, I don't see it as any type of revenge. I mean, she is my very best friend, and I have more sisters than I need, but she's another one of them. And we call her the bonus Jonas. We have several bonus Jonases in the Guzman household. Of I don't know if you know that reference. Do you know who the Jonas Brothers are?
Oh, okay. Yes. All right. I was wondering
Okay,
what Jonas was.
okay. So
Okay.
the
I
Jonas
got it.
Brothers, they've got a. There's another brother. There's four of them actually, but only three in the band called the bonus Jonas. So in my household, we joke we've got a lot of bonus Jonases that are honorary Guzman sisters. But so she's a bonus Jonas in our household. And no, she's God sent and a blessing and is a part of this journey for me. And I, you know, I think I would have eventually gotten there on my own. It might have been with 3 weeks in preparation for the pageant instead of 5. But yeah, she's the best. And I thank God every day for her. So, and here we are. And who knows, maybe in 4 weeks, I'll be with a new crown on my head, jet setting off to Richardson, Texas, to watch her bring home hers.
Sounds like a good plan. I
Mm-hmm.
think it's interesting. You touched on it a couple of times, the glamorous side and how in your career that it really you can't do that if you want to be taken seriously. And I know a lot of times when pageantry is like, oh, it's just pretty girls in pretty dresses, blah 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 blah, and it's not just. But also, no, there's nothing. I don't think there's any reason to feel guilty about that. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, if you want to wear a glamorous dress and feel beautiful, I don't know why anyone would have a problem with that. It's something that I've learned from doing all these interviews is that sometimes you just want your moment on stage and you shouldn't have to
Mm-hmm.
feel guilty about it. I think that's a big problem. Is like you have to justify why you're doing it or you feel guilty about doing it. And I don't think that's necessary at all.
I don't
And you've
either.
got the volunteer and the service heart. As long as you've got that and you're using your time on stage for a great point, then a great purpose. I think that's amazing. Um, I wanted to ask you about the baking. Did you say that you are working as a baker?
Banker, like money.
Banker. I got so
Banker.
confused. I thought
No, 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 no.
baker.
Could you imagine? I bake cakes. No, I am not skilled in the kitchen. That is a shortcoming of mine as a potential wife is that the kitchen is not my friend. So um my all my sisters are great cooks and bakers. I am not, but I
So
can handle
funny.
money. I can
You know,
handle money.
you can run the household accounts, but don't let you in the kitchen. I thought you said baker, and I was like, how do you prep for that? Must be the worst career to have if you're trying to prep for a
Oh my
pageant and you're a
God.
baker, and also you famously not being a morning person. How would you be a baker?
Could you imagine? Oh my gosh. So, funny story about that. So, my younger sister, she's 16. My mother was a teacher. So, at the end of the school year, my entire life, we have given baked goods to our teachers at the end of the school year. And she's in high school. In an American high school, you've got 8 teachers because you have 8 different class periods. So, we baked them cookies. And my mother asked me to make the cookies. I mean, I can bake. I can't cook, but I can bake. And she basically was like, "Here, just mix them." So they were doing other things. This was last week, and I was like, "This is so mean." this is so mean of me because, I've got a swimsuit competition in 4 weeks and I'm sitting there with a huge tub of cookie dough and I'm just like, discipline, it'll pay off, like rolling it all together. Yeah, as you said, be the worst job to prepare for a pageant. Yeah, no, I would have quit by now or I'd be huge because I love just snacking on things. And I was like, this is so mean. Like, you're having me roll 200 cookies for 8 teachers. It's so mean. It's so mean. And put them out of the oven and fresh baked chocolate chip cookies. My mom was like, this is good. Discipline. We're working on discipline. I'm like, I can't. This is so rude. But I did it. Teachers have them. They're great. They're fabulous. I wouldn't know I didn't have one. But according to my dad, they taste really good. So that's great.
I just have this mental picture on my mind of you baking these cookies, but with a really angry, resentful look on your face because you're not allowed to eat any of them.
The same TikTok you said of me being a morning person and the way it looked, yeah, that was pretty similar. Pretty similar expression. So,
I do suggest for everyone watching this, you go and check out Olivia's TikTok because I feel that's where a lot of people just let their inner. I mean, you referred to yourself as a beast. Their inner crazy person have a bit of a play. I really like that
yeah.
one where you're just losing it in the car. Did that just come to you in the moment, or is that actually how you are in the morning, like a
Um,
bit crazy
like
person?
a crybaby? Yeah, no, I'm definitely a drama queen. I just
Okay.
am. I think it comes from having 3 other sisters and being a middle kid in the sisters. We're just drama. All in good fun. Like nothing's ever that serious, but it makes things a little bit lighter if you can be dramatic with them. I don't know if that makes any type of sense, but I feel like the more dramatic I make a situation, the less serious
Overly
it gets.
dramatic. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
it
Like
just
waking up at 6 in the morning is death. Yes. Overly dramatic.
yeah, like oh, it's 5 a.m. and then we just like make it into a bit. And that's just kind of how I am with life. Is like if you can make it into a bit and make it just like oh, then it's then you end up having fun with it. And so I'm at a point now where I'm used to getting up at 5 a.m. Still don't like it. I don't know if I'll ever like it, but it's I'm not dreading it like I was to get up and work out when I first told myself I'm like we're gonna get up at 5 a.m. We're gonna train our body. I just reflect back. I'm like when I was in high school, I was up at 4:30 every morning, and I didn't go to bed until midnight. Like I can do anything. Like we can do it all. So that's where we are.
I started doing some cold plunges in the morning, and it's coming into winter here. And I have to say, I don't think that I could get up at 6 in the morning and go into ice water, but to each their own. I guess you can train yourself for anything. Olivia, we've been on for a while, including the half an hour that I chatted to you before. So just before we get to the final 10 questions, is there anyone that you'd like to say thank you to or give a shout out to for supporting you along your journey?
My family, they are everything to me. They are my rock system, my support system, my mom, my dad, my 3 sisters, Stephanie, my best friend, my coworkers. I mean, I've got Mike Graham. Oh my goodness, I can't believe that I almost didn't thank him. He is my pageant fairy godfather. Bethany, my director. They're just amazing, and I'm so thankful to have them.
Perfect. All right, let's run through these final 10 questions. Number one, what is your favorite word?
Fabulous.
Very pageant of you. Number two, what is your least favorite word?
Oh, moist. I know that's so boring. Like I love words, so there's not a least favorite word. I mean,
I
no,
just
I
think,
take that back. Like is my least favorite word. When it's said all the time, that's my least favorite word.
did you ever struggle with that one?
Yes,
So
I've worked
it's a
very hard on it.
it's a hard one to weed out. Number three, in life, what gets you excited? What turns you on?
Um, competition. And with myself, that's what lights a fire underneath me is, oh, no, being doubted. That's where it comes in, of being the underdog. I guess competition too, but like being doubted. That's what inspires me, gets me up, gets me going.
I can tell that's a true answer because the look in your eyes when you gave it, it's like, yep, yep, this is someone who's gets turned on by someone saying, no, you can't do that. It's like, oh, really? Okay, let's see.
Like, oh, that's crazy. Can't believe you said that.
Yeah. Okay, so that's what turns you on. What about what turns you off?
Inauthentic people, just fake people and people who aren't genuine. That shuts me off, turns me off, and just kind of makes me lose hope.
What sound or noise do you love?
Music and the beach. But I love music, like a full symphony orchestra. Love.
Orchestra.
hmm Like a full symphony is
Wow.
just, yes, I love it.
It's a, I'm just surprised anytime anyone ever mentions classical music because I feel these days everyone's listening to everything other than classical music. I was a violinist since the age of 2. So
I
when
was a
anyone
flutist,
says,
so I get it.
ah,
hmm
that's one of the hardest instruments to play well. I know that much from my time in orchestra. So kudos to you. So
But I
that's
love the
what's
violin. So
if it's played well.
the violin.
Violin played badly, I will contend, is the worst sounding thing in the world. That's why they say it's like a cat being strangled. So if it's played well, it's beautiful. If it's not played well, it's pretty bad. What about what sound or noise do you hate?
I hate Velcro. Isn't that weird? I hate the sound of Velcro.
It's not the first time I've heard that, but
Yeah.
yeah, that makes sense. If you could have any one superpower, what would you pick and why?
I would pick teleporting. I think that's the right term for it. I want to see the entire world, and so just being able to beep bop all over the place would be my superpower of choice.
What job other than your own would you most like to attempt?
I would love to be a Broadway actress. That would be my dream. And my AirPods died, which is okay. So we'll get through them. So if you hear people talking out there, I'm so sorry. That is just living in a house of women.
It's a we live with it. We roll with the punches. I was going to say I can tell what's happened. It's all good. And kudos to you for just pushing through like nothing happened in that
That's
sweet like.
baby.
I can see what's going on. Okay, so we're at the end anyway. It's perfect timing. Number 9. What job other than your own would you definitely not like to attempt?
Oh, anything in the medical field. I am horrified of blood in needles. And so my sisters, all of them want to go into the medical field. No, thank you. No, thank you. No, thank you. No, thank you. We need them in this world. I'm not one of them.
Did you ever have to do the biology where you dissect something?
Oh, that was fascinating. But there's no blood. There's no blood when you're dissecting something.
Okay. Okay. Points to you for pointing that out. I'll take that one.
Yeah,
But the look on your face when you said that cutting something in half is fascinating, that was slightly scary and unhinged.
yeah. Whoops. But no, I love science. I do. I think it's fascinating. I just can't handle blood. So can't do it. I've tried. No, like getting my blood drawn is
I can feel trauma. Yeah, it's
no, 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 no.
there was a my as I told, I come from a family of doctors, and I had to have some blood tests done. I'm all right with needles, but there was one time they had to draw my blood out, and they use these vacuum tubes to suck out the blood. And the problem is the needle has to stay in you for quite a long time, and when you put in the vacuum tube, it's moving around in your arm because it's. I was like, oh, I don't like it. Not a fan. Anyway, before I make you vomit.
Hold on, no. This is a quick story. I had a procedure done in October, and they just were scoping my stomach for just something, but they were putting the IV in and needles. I'm much better with needles than blood.
Yeah.
But she was putting the IV in, and she goes, "Oh no, don't look. I forgot to plug it. There's a bunch of blood. Don't look, don't look." I'm sitting there, I look down, and there's like blood just like splurting out. I mean, instantly passed out. Passed out. I delayed the surgery schedule because then they had to I had to become conscious again. But I looked down and I'm like, it was, and my doctor came in and he was like, "You're the first one of the day and you've already thrown us off." I'm like, "I'm so sorry." Like, if she wouldn't have said anything, I would have never noticed. But she's like, "Oh no, don't look. There's blood everywhere." I was like, "Oh, ma'am." So, yeah, that's that. No, thank you.
Equal parts horrifying and hilarious. I don't know. I don't know
Looking
which
back
one.
on it now, it's like only me that happens to, but it's funny.
It's so funny you'd say that story. The girl I just interviewed, Bailey, she's horrified of blood as well, and she said she was shaving in the shower. She cut her leg, and she passed out in the shower because she cut her leg shaving. I'm like, I don't know how you guys survive. The side of you, oh, there we go, passed out. Are you okay there? You look like you're having a moment.
Like, there's certain things, like cuts don't bother me. I've had more injuries than I can count just playing sports, and like blood there doesn't bother me. It's like blood in a medical sense, if that makes any type of sense. Like the, but yeah.
Anyway, so watching those horror movies then is not high on your list then.
No, I'm a Disney kid. I want some. I don't.
So unless Disney starts putting out horror versions of movies, then probably not. All right. Final question: if heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
Oh wow! Well, I know heaven exists, and I think I would want to hear him say, "There's a Bible verse," and I'm terrible because I can't remember it right now, but it says, "Well done, good and faithful servant." And I think that's what I would want to hear is "well done," is that I lived my life in a way that made him proud. It made God proud, and yeah, I think that's what I just want to hear. And maybe that's just the part of me that needs validation of being told that you're doing a good job and the people pleaser in me, but I think that's just what I want, is just with a hug saying, "Well done, good and faithful servant."
I think hearing that from God would be very, very nice.
Yeah.
Olivia, it's been a blast. We've been on for a while. Thank you so much for your time, and I'm sorry about the baking thing. I was thinking the whole interview, she's a baker.
That's funny. No, maybe, you know what? Maybe that's the next path. Who knows? Maybe in 10 years I'll be like, actually, I opened a bake shop. But then
doubtful.
It's like, okay, what happened to where we took that much of a pivot? But no, but it's been a blast, and I'm a talker, and I probably kept you on way longer than you anticipated. So I apologize for that, but I can't wait to see you in Jackson.
Yeah, I've never been to Tennessee before. I hear the weather is nice, so I'll be looking forward to getting there because I'll be coming out of the winter. And then seeing all of you guys having a great time. So looking forward to it. But yeah, thanks so much for coming on and good luck.
Thank you so much. And you are the best. And I wish you good luck with everything else and enjoy Australia. And my sash has fallen for the 8th time today. So
I wasn't going to say anything, but that's all right. All right, I'll cut us here.